Israel lockdowns have begun. So this is from frontline.news. Mordechai Sonis, right?
Yeah.
So it says Israel's first lockdown over security concerns, it's actually quoted like that, is underway as residents of the city of Sderot are ordered to lock themselves in their homes. The city of Sderot, which borders the Gaza Strip, was invaded by Muslim forces Saturday. The invaders, said to be Hamas operatives, entered from Gaza without resistance, despite Israel's sophisticated technology and highly trained security forces. The Muslim operatives massacred over 700 Israelis in nearby communities, including Sderot, and took approximately 100 captives back to Gaza. They easily conquered Sderot's police station, where it reportedly took Israeli forces 6 hours to arrive. Sderot's residents were ordered to barricade themselves in their homes and not open the door for anyone due to fears of Muslim infiltrators posing as Israeli police officers or soldiers. But according to Israeli media, the order remains in effect even as the threat of infiltration has been lifted. Israel's Khan News also reported Monday that Sderot residents have been disconnected from water and electricity since the invasion Saturday. Quote, "We don't have water or electricity. We have nothing," said Sderot resident Amnon Twitter. Quote, "They keep telling us another couple of hours, another couple of hours, another couple of hours, and there is nothing." But Sderot residents are not the only ones subject to restrictions. Citizens in other areas, including Judea, Samaria, and Jerusalem, have been instructed by Israel's Home Front Command to limit outdoor gatherings to 10 people and indoor gatherings to 50 people. How about no gatherings, you morons? Schools in these orange areas have been ordered closed, and taxpayers may only go to work if there is a bomb shelter close by. As during COVID-19 pandemic, Israelis have reacted to the restrictions with enthusiasm, with some demanding even more measures. Frontline News reported Sunday that the municipality of Be'er Yaakov, which is a town in central Israel, announced that at least 2 mobile surveillance cameras were being stationed at the town's entrances and exits. Mayor Nissim Gozlan explained that with each camera carrying a visibility range of 1 kilometer, authorities could see a kilometer in every direction near the town's border. Although Be'er Yaakov, which neighbors Tel Aviv, lies approximately 40 miles from the Gaza Strip and was not near the invaded areas, residents cheered the government's decision. Well done, several Israelis commented on the municipality's post as they expressed their pride in Mayor Gozlan, whom they called their champion. One resident asked Gozlan to block the town's entrances and vet each entrant. Another requested even more cameras. Okay. So basically what in another article saying that this event is being used to create more globalist policies, to create more surveillance, and none of it helps. Okay, so like my colleague here, Greg, said, if a bird flies anywhere in that area, they know exactly. They have immediate. It's the most surveilled stretch of land in the world.
Yeah.
Nothing, not a mosquito could get by without the security forces knowing.
Can I read? Rabbi Hanania Weissman wrote something when what you're just saying. Can I read it? He goes, this is yesterday. Rabbi Hanania Weissman. I received this report from a source I believe is credible. Turn off the controlled propaganda, use the brain God gave you, and draw your own conclusions. It's worse. There was a stand-down order to the now erased Gaza division. The murderous farce started at 4 o'clock in the morning, not 6:30. It took the murderous zombie horde no less than an hour to get to towns. No IAF, Israel Air Force action for at least 6 hours, while the hordes freely came and went unbothered and freely through the border checkpoints. The Navy wiped out the sea incursions. Guess they didn't need intelligence to stop murderous feces. I live close enough to see and hear comings and goings from there. For most of my military service, I was attached to that division. That was just like a friend of his telling him. There was unusually heavy weirdness starting at about 2 o'clock in the morning. At approximately 3 o'clock in the morning, there were 1 or 2 fighter planes lighting afterburners, sonic booms, one helicopter moving one way which didn't return. Then the sound of Merkava main cannon firing, then silence. Missile barrages rising from Gaza started. Not a single airplane or helicopter of any kind until at least 6 to 8 hours later. Probably no less than 5,000 missiles outgoing from Gaza by 8 o'clock in the morning. This matches for foreign media reports. Al Jazeera Arabic was showing live-streamed operations of the zombie horde, uniformed terrorists overrunning the Gaza division unopposed. One drone with a bomb blew up on a Merkava, and the crew was dragged out and mutilated. None of the soldiers seemed to be armed. The enemy took 4 completely undamaged Merkavas unopposed. They took some mutilated Jewish survivors of the massacre of Gaza division right back across the border through the regular, totally unmanned checkpoints, some on vehicles and some being dragged on foot. From some of the footage, it was obvious there were European-looking men, blonde and pale skinned, with military haircuts and first-rate equipment, and military wearing beige COVID masks helping move prisoners across the unmanned checkpoints. The main enemy force took, in their own words, more than an hour to get to their target towns. They were followed by Einsatzgruppen group and paramilitary hordes for looting and kidnapping survivors of the first wave. I say with certainty that this was a stand-down order. They do indeed have a very expensive obstacle to prevent this, sophisticated tracking surveillance with remote-operated machine gun emplacements. We do. And even if they were overrun by surprise, which is impossible, the IAF has Apache helicopters for this case, and there were none airborne until at least 6 hours later, when hostages were being taken back to Gaza and the terrorists were coming and going as they pleased in great numbers. The Navy managed to destroy every single enemy that attempted a mass distributed coastal landing without a single loss. Finally, some time ago, the security for these southern towns was handled by the Gaza division. They post soldiers at each town, check people coming in and patrol. Then there was a government decision to remove the soldiers and replace them with local civil defense people. It's called rough shots. But the military defunded the programs and also took away the town's weapons armories that were supposed to be distributed to the local civilian defense persons. So the civil defense asked for personally armed volunteers, and we know how easy it is for a Jewish Israeli to get a firearm here. Like, not. Note how all the reports in Hebrew keep talking about the intelligence failure, and it's the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. Not one word about where the IAF helicopters and planes all those hours, but they talk plenty about how there was no military or no police to be found in the towns being slaughtered by the terrorists. Look at and pay close attention to what the time this guy posted his heroic crushing of the murderous vermin who had already killed others in his town as one example of many. Quote, I got up in the morning to smoke a cigarette. It was 6:15 a.m. Dawn had barely broken. Suddenly I saw a trail of light in the sky, and that's how this absurd scenario began. Little by little, the horrible picture became clearer. Nava Anker, who was a member of Kibbutz Nirim, told Ynet. She said her son also lives in Nirim with his 3 daughters. Only later did we realize that we were surrounded by terrorists. We heard small arms fire. The IDF forces arrived after 7 hours or so. A few additional thoughts from me. This is Rabbi Hanani Weissman. Expect war lockdowns and heightened censorship for your safety. Emergency government equals emergency powers, and we know how they depend on emergencies. Do not trust the people who are supposed to be, quote, protecting you. They are your worst enemies. Someone who responded to my first email put it best. My first thought when I saw the news early this morning was that a government established by Nazi collaborators that slaughters its babies and kills and maims its citizens with medical tyranny would absolutely allow an enemy to attack with all its suffering, wounded, and dead. This wasn't an intelligent failure. On the contrary, the operation was executed as planned. And then he goes on. In case you still find it hard to believe that the Erev Rav who sold you out so many times would allow this to happen, this comes from another astute commenter. The Gaza border, one of the most fortified and technologically advanced borders in the world, teeming with combat soldiers, battalions of tanks, and a heavy Air Force presence. There are multiple systems in place there, including static thermal imaging observation posts, manned patrol vehicles, static manned observation posts, subterranean radar, reconnaissance drones, reconnaissance aircraft, autonomous patrol vehicles, fence motion detection, bomb-proof multi-layered reinforcement fence set in concrete. None of the above was working. Hamas militants were able to cross open ground and infiltrate into multiple Israeli cities and Yeshuvim without detection or being challenged. Hamas militants were even able to make it back into Gaza afterwards with the bodies of captured soldiers, civilians, and vehicles. Somehow, every single security measure was ineffective. This does not make sense. You can't just drive a tractor through the Gaza fence. It's designed not to be driven through. There was a perfectly shaped cut hole for Hamas vehicles to pass through. Even with a powerful angle grinder, it takes time to cut through that many layers of reinforcement. That went unnoticed for some reason. Even an animal touching that fence would trigger an alarm, and a protocol is in place to respond to that. And for the people who say, oh, Iran hacked into all the systems. What the flip are you talking about? A bird can't. They have a microchip in a bird, and they can sense when a bird wants to shit over them. And the microchip goes off, and they get a signal. Oh, the bird's about to shit. Shoot it. Yeah. Are you kidding? Folks, we've been attacked by our own government. Get it? Like, let that sink in. The people of Israel have been attacked by their own government with the help of these Planet of the Apes guys. They've enabled them. They let them in.
So for everything that you've just read and everything we've spoken about, as far as I'm concerned, the creatures that are in charge of the government of the land of Israel, right, are imposter. They're not human. They're creatures. Okay, and they are one entity with Hamas. As far as I'm concerned, the Israeli government, they're not a real government, they're not even Jews, okay, who have infiltrated the land of Israel and are now attacking the Jewish people. And you might say, well, okay, so if that's the case, well, what's the goal? And why don't they just wipe us all out? They can do that, right? Well, depends on what their goal is. Right now, their goal is to use this conflict to start a regional war, certainly with Iran, okay? But, all of those other things. And, you have American aircraft carriers that are on their way. If not, they haven't made it to the port, to Israel's ports, okay? So this is being used for geopolitics. So the creatures which are in charge of the government of Israel, not the people, but the government of Israel, they're all the same entity as the creatures that are running the European countries and the creatures that are running America. These are not the leadership of these countries. Do you understand? They're not. This is a separate group of non-human things which have infiltrated your governments. Do you understand?
Yeah.
The entire Western world is run by creatures. You understand? And they're using the locals, right? They're using these people to hoard these people. They're using these people to destroy the culture of these people. They're playing this game of chess with chessboard, which is the surface of the earth. You understand? They're moving things around. So their goal is not necessarily complete obliteration. There's stages to whatever their goal is. Okay, but they have use for people. Is my point. Understand?
Yeah.
The Israeli government doesn't look at Israelis as human beings that need to be protected. They're used as resources.
They're used as human. It's called human capital.
As human capital, as meat. So basically, they orchestrated this disgusting, abomination, this murder and this rape, and because it affects human beings like me and like Greg and like probably like those who are listening to this. It makes us real mad, and then they're like, "Yeah, you mad? Okay, let's go get them."
Yeah.
Get who? So now that being said, what would be a realistic response to stop their ability to do this, to stop this pattern of emotional manipulation? And this is true for every country, for Canadians, for Americans, certainly for Israelis, but really for every country. Okay? If you want to stop these conflicts, here's what would be necessary to do. First of all, the first thing that you have to do, and in the case of Israel, right? The Jews of Israel have to go to the Knesset. They have to drag out every single Knesset member, get rid of them, throw them in prison, throw them down a hole to never be seen again, shove them in a locker and throw away the key, make them not able to function anymore and to continually, because they are some kind of creature which can convince you of stuff. They have some kind of power. They can convince you of things and never deliver, ever. They'll never deliver. They make promises. You believe the promises. They never deliver, but you still believe them. They keep making more promises. There's some kind of thing. You got to get rid of this creature. Okay? All right. So that's step number one, because those are the people, and not just the Knesset, but the Supreme Court, all the intelligence officials. I'm not talking about this. In order for this to happen, that would mean the soldiers would need to do this. They would need to wake up and understand that they're being used. Right?
Yeah.
Pawns, right? Like
a lot of them don't realize that, I don't think.
If you're a soldier, you're being used as the primary human capital that they're counting on. So if it was you that was to turn around and recognize what's actually going on, right? Then you could solve the problem. So all the intelligence operatives, if you're a human being, you turn to the officials. You know what they're doing. If you're a soldier, turn to your supposed, political appointed commanders or high or top brass and do what you got to do. This will stop. If you do this, it'll stop. Now, it's not going to happen. Because we just read how people in Israel, they cheered the security measures. They cheered more cameras. They cheered as if that worked in Gaza.
Dude, I was just explaining to a relative of mine who's asking me questions about Israel, genuine questions, not arguing against me and anything. I was explaining how she was asking me about the judicial reform stuff and things she hears from her, people that she knows on the West Coast. She lives in California, another one of these enlightened places, about this whole judicial reform. And I kept explaining, and I was explaining how, in general, people in Israel, or at least the ones that are protesting about the democracy stuff, they wouldn't know democracy if it hit them over the head. And here I was beginning to think it's just these leftists, the ones that are going crazy. I'm starting to realize it's most people in Israel. Most.
So that's why
even these right-wing people who want judicial reform you don't know shit about democracy because you never lived in one. You lived in a thing that looks like a residue of where I was born, mixed with some bizarre, not bizarre, but bazaar, like shuk capitalism, like a shuk, like a souk, with Soviet residue, kibbutz, bureaucracy, horrible drab buildings and all the rest of it. That's what you've been living in. You have not been living in a democracy this entire time, and you don't even know what the hell that looks like, what's it supposed to look like. You don't even have a constitution. So I'm not surprised that these people, just like they went and they lined up for these things, and now they want surveillance. Now you want surveillance. Who's going to surveil you?
You already have surveillance.
Yeah, you already had surveillance. Look what happened with the surveillance. You got the shitty parachutes made on eBay and rowboats with engines and these dudes on Dodge vans from 1987 that look like they're coming to check your phone cables, power lines. Mahmoud, Ahmed, Mustafa.
So that's so for everything that we just said. That's why we started out with just the practical information of what you can do, because the people of not just Israel, the citizens, the victims of these creatures, right? The people are so far away from the consciousness of what actually needs to be done to stop it, that they won't take the steps to actually stop it. So I don't think that's going to happen. I hope I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem that way, which means that you have to. So the reason why the average person like me and like you needs to be, you got to be your own soldier. You have to be your own self-defense, because your government will easily turn against you if it needs something. If it needs to make a point, or it wants an excuse to start a war, or to enact a new law, or to get more stuff from the budget, they'll kill a couple of people. They'll orchestrate a little thing,
and a crisis, and they're not going to let it go to waste.
And no, they'll be happy to sacrifice your family, to your family, and listen to this: the more horrible, the more pain that they experience, the better, because they get a better emotional response. Yeah, that'll really get it. We're dealing with creatures, and you're on your own. Do you understand that? Yeah. That's why if you're a father, if you're a person, if you're a normal being, you have to defend yourself.
Can I say one thing? Any guy, any man in the Israeli army, just know, and I'm sure you know this, but in case you don't, you're not fighting for the Israeli government. You are fighting for your own family, for yourself, and for the land of Israel. That's it. And for Hashem, really, with Hashem, for Hashem. That's it. You're not fighting for Bibi. You're not fighting for Ehud Barak. You're not fighting for your generals. You may be, fighting with and kind of like listening to the orders of your immediate commanding officer, the guy just above you who's with you there. The generals know. Like if I were to go there, if I were to get on a plane and go there, even though I was never in the army, I'm a citizen of Israel. I know that the only reason I would even go there is for the land. It's for the land, and then just for the land and other people that I know there, and that's it. Like I feel helpless now. Like I'm sitting here in America, and I feel like useless, helpless. I don't know what the hell to do.
You're not helpless, because
I know, but like
we're giving some practical information.
Sure, but you know what I mean. Like
there's nobody else.
It's like watching. It's like watching. Even though I'm one guy, I'm not a one man army or Rambo. But it's like watching somebody like rape your family, and you're across 6,000 miles. And you can't do anything about it. And yeah.
So listen, hold on. So in basically, I'm not going to say in conclusion, but if you're a regular American person, a regular human being anywhere on earth, and if you're a regular Orthodox Jew or any normal Jew or any normal anybody, you got to understand that there are no righteous governments. You're not protected. There's no organization. There's no institution. There's no government. They are all your 100% enemy right now. Okay? So it's just you, okay? Just you and those in your family or those that you know who are like-minded. You have to understand that. So you get your guns, you get your knives, you learn basic protocol, you take the responsibility, you be safe, you do your best to stay away from any type of conflict. If it comes to you, then fight, okay? And don't allow yourself to be, don't allow people to calm you down and to say, oh, it's okay, or just pray. Prayers don't work. I'll say it. Somebody has to say it, okay? They might work, maybe, if you've taken all of the practical.
Prayers work for people who do things at the same time as praying.
Right. Bart Sadok is going to say later, even though I don't agree with everything that he says, okay? Even some of that stuff in the video that we're going to play, right? But every now and then he says something which makes sense. And he says that, listen, God created a system where if you don't do everything that you were supposed to do in terms of practical preparation for any situation, then it's not going to be done for you. So basically the idea is God is going to do everything that you can't do. But if you didn't do what you were supposed to do, he's not going to do it for you. So basic self-defense, basic. So it's like basic hygiene. It's like, if you don't clean your teeth, if you don't wash, you're going to get infections. Things are going to start to dissolve and break down. So if you don't eat the right things, it's the same thing. There's certain things about this world that you have to do. There's basic hygiene. You could call it hygiene, okay? And self-defense is a part of that. And again, I'm not a self-defense expert. I'm on my own. I never went to any courses or anything. I'm just a person trying to have common sense. Okay? So, and everything that you really need to know, I showed you in this video. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the most basic, like with the knife thing, right? So it's, get a big sharp object that's long, that can keep you distance away. Keep the pointy part pointed at your opponent who's coming at you, right? And then don't swing wildly, just jab. Keep the pointy part, okay? That's really all it comes down to. Like most warfare, when they show in the movies with the guy swinging the swords, that's not how most warfare. Most warfare was with these huge spearmen. Not the men were huge. The spears were huge. They're like 20 foot long spears, these wooden poles with knives at the end of it, right? That's where most of the people would die. It's the spearmen and also the archers. Everything from a distance. Do you understand? Like that's reality. Real life is it's nothing. Just keep the pointy part pointed at your opponent. And distance. A little knife that you got to get up close and personal. What are you? What are you, a ninja? I'm not a ninja. Are you a ninja? No, you need something long, okay, to keep the distance as an obstacle, okay? And you want the point. Okay, so basic stuff, okay? You don't even know it. Most people don't even know this, okay? So you need this because your government will easily turn against you and use you for its own purposes. Do you understand? You don't have a government. You have masters, slave masters. You're a slave. Everyone listening to this is a slave. Do you understand? So the only thing that you can do, okay, is arm yourself, right? And not be as big of a victim when they decide to arrange a nice little atrocity in your area.
Yeah. Okay? Stay clear of the the what is it called? The inside jobs.
Which
stay
pretty much all are. Okay.
Yeah.
And because the human consciousness is so far away from what actually needs to be done to change situation, that's why the only solution is Mashiach. Literally, we're so far away, most people are so far away from the reality of what's actually causing this, because nobody stops to think just like basic common sense. Like, how could they have done this? How could they have gotten through, the surveillance and all this? This was orchestrated by
Dude, just for the fact that I have friends who are in the unit or were in the unit. It's called Shmone Matayim, Unit 8200. It's basically the cyber and all the tech and all the surveillance stuff. And I asked my friend, like, every person I ever met on 8200, what kind of stuff we got? They all jokingly tell me, if I tell you, I will have to kill you. If that's the answer they're giving me, what do you think? What the flip do you think? And now we got these guys with eBay parachutes.
Guys, let me paint this just to help with what you're saying.
I don't want to laugh. I feel like an asshole.
Let me paint this picture.
Yeah.
And this is just for the situation that just happened in Israel, right? Let's just focus on this one thing. And of course, this happens all over the world in every other situation in recent times. But there's a group of government officials in Israel, right, who sat around, with their arms crossed around a table, planning this massacre on Jews, in tandem, working together with their liaisons with the Hamas.
Dude, they created Hamas. Ariel Sharon created Hamas. That's not a surprise. No.
Listen to what I'm saying, okay? I'm not trying to help the Jew haters right now. What I'm saying is there's an international group of creatures that are not even human beings. Forget Jews.
Yeah.
They're not humans. And again, I keep saying this. I'm not saying that they're some kind of like they're wearing masks and they're some kind of non-human.
It's consciousness.
It's in their consciousness, because folks, if you're a Torah-educated person, you know what consciousness really is. You know what a soul is.
Sure.
You know that Adam, it's the special soul that God gave Adam that makes a person human.
Yeah.
The creatures that I'm talking about, they don't have that.
Dude, you know that Ehud Barak is on a plane out of Israel, or was? He got out of Israel.
So
he's one of them.
So for the picture, Greg, I want you to picture this: a group of these assholes, this time in Israel, and probably on Zoom meetings with their international counterparts. Like, listen, we need to create a a nice little, we got to get this party started in the Middle East, with the war and Iran and whatever else we're trying to loot, whatever else we're trying to change, right? Yeah. So we need to create a really nasty little atrocity. The worse the better. Got to be babies splattered, kidnapping, Arabs messing with their kidnapped Jewish little babies. Got to get them real mad. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. This was coordinated. I could just hear the voices of all the sleeping dummies who were just like, I can't believe it, what you're saying. Right now is a time of unity. Don't talk against the Israeli government. You fucking morons. They can only get away with this because of people like you. Okay.
Can I just read this again after you just said that? I want to read this again. I already read this. I want to read this again. Just this part. The Gaza border. I'm going to read it slowly for the people with low resolution thinking. One of the most fortified and technologically advanced borders in the world, teeming with combat soldiers, battalions of tanks, and a heavy Air Force presence. There are multiple systems in place there, including static thermal imaging observation posts, manned patrol vehicles, static manned observation posts, subterranean radar, reconnaissance drones, reconnaissance aircraft, autonomous patrol vehicles, fence motion detector. What did they just remove? Bomb-proof multi-layered reinforced. They just removed something of my content. Lovely. Okay, maybe not. Maybe it's the video. Fence motion detection. Bomb-proof multi-layered reinforced set in concrete. None of the above was working. Hamas militants were able to cross up open ground and infiltrate into multiple Israeli cities and Yeshuvim without detection or being challenged. Hamas militants were even able to make it back into Gaza afterwards with the bodies of captured soldiers and civilians and vehicles. This is not like Gilad Shalit when they came into a tunnel, grabbed them, and came back in the tunnel. Like in a video game. We're gone. What's the rest of this? Yeah, you can't. Somehow every single security measure was ineffective. This does not make sense. You can't just drive a tractor through the Gaza fence. It's designed not to be driven through. There was a perfectly shaped cut hole for Hamas vehicles to pass through. Even with a powerful angle grinder, it takes time to cut through that many layers of reinforcement. That went unnoticed for some reason. Even an animal touching that fence would trigger an alarm, and a protocol is in place to respond to that. Dude, it's like those guns, like in Idiocracy, those guns that just automatically fired when he escaped prison, We have those, but they fire straight. They don't fire at each other. They fire at people. And they aim perfectly. Dude, Israel has insane. We brag about our technology everywhere. High tech, startup nation. We brag about it. We sell it to the world. We show it to the world. We put our own, modifications. We take the F-35, make it F-35I because we created our own heads-up display. That's all. Only Israeli pilots can understand, and you need to train American pilots. Dude. eBay parachutes.
Can I just say one thing? I'm sorry, and this is, I guess this is supposed to be funny or whatever, but I just really feel this way. Rashida Tlaib.
Yeah.
Democrat from Michigan.
Yeah.
I'm looking at her face, and I'm like, that bitch looks like she stinks.
Yeah.
She looks like she smells like physically, smells bad.
Yeah.
They ever look at somebody and be like, they look like they don't smell good.
I can smell you through. Yeah, I can smell you through the screen. Or as Triumph would say, I can smell your crotch from here.
Every part of her smells like ass. Just look at that face. Look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't have just remember the people, they don't have Iron Dome like you do. Just remember.
Yeah. So
this is already a hired spy. So can we play Menace Friedman?
So yeah, but I'll just say, only thing that you can do, I guess, is don't give them what they want. They want you to, the people who murdered you now want to manipulate your feelings about what they did to you so that you can back them in something that they want to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the same people who murdered you, who planned this whole thing, now want you to get real mad, but not at them. No. at the people that they want you to kill a whole bunch of other people now.
At the creatures that they sicked on you.
Now,
even though they're bad creatures. Yeah.
So the people of Gaza, those however many humans there are there, I don't know. Truth is, I don't know how many humans there are there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say there are humans there. Let's say. How do I really know? But let's assume, right? Let's assume there's a significant quantity of real human beings that live in Gaza, right? You're suffering right now for the same reason that Israelis are suffering, because you didn't clean out. You know, like when there's a mold infestation in your house and it gets real bad, right? And you got to gut an entire room. You know, you got to start over. You got to like basically rebuild. You got to take the walls down and everything. You didn't remove the mold from your house, and now it's spread, and now it's causing all sorts of havoc for you. You understand? So Israelis are suffering because we never got rid of our mold in the government. You're suffering because you didn't even think to get rid of your mold. It wasn't even a thing for you. Okay? That's so both wherever human beings find themselves in any particular, side or whatever you want to call it, suffering for the same reason. Okay? I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. I have friends that can't they can't even fathom that this would be they're just like, oh, the Arabs, Gaza, Hamas.
You're gonna play, Rabbi?
Let's play. This is Manus Friedman's where I haven't heard this yet, so let's see what he said.
I'm right here. I have to step away just for a minute.
Sure.
What is a moral way to fight a war? The moral way to fight a war is to get it done quickly. It's not moral to keep a war going for 10 years. You shouldn't have a whole generation living under war. How do you end the war quickly? Whatever it takes. If your enemy is not afraid, then something is very wrong. And it's your fault, not the enemy's fault.
Yeah.
Why is it that they commit a crime and they lecture you about being moral? Where is this chutzpah coming from? You cannot live with an enemy who doesn't respect you. Now, is it musari? Is it kosher to say, I'd rather have my soldier shot, God forbid, than to shoot a civilian of the enemy? The first responsibility of any government is to protect its people, which includes the soldiers. Soldiers are not hefker. That's with any country, with any people, and even more so with the Jewish people. We're used to being the victims. So we're comfortable. So they're going to stab us, they're going to kill us, they're going to run us over, they're going to send burning balloons. That's the way it is. We could have stayed in the Polish ghettos. How much suffering are you going to tolerate? And say, we'll make a few changes, we'll put up some more police. You're saying it's okay to live like this. If one person in 70 years gets killed, it's not okay. What we're doing wrong is that we have an inferiority complex. We're not convinced that what we're doing is right. And the enemy knows it. When you apologize for winning a war and you want to give back territory, the enemy sees you have no confidence. You're not sure that what you did was right. Well, that means that they were right. So they'll try again. You're encouraging them to try again. If you're not sure that what you're doing is right, to populate the country of Israel with the people of Israel, if you're not sure, stay out of the government. But if you are involved in the government on any level whatsoever, you have to do it with absolute confidence that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the land. It is ours more than any country belongs to its conquerors. Every other land does not belong to the people who live there. They conquered it, so it's theirs. When somebody will come and conquer them, then it will become somebody else's. But the land of Israel, no matter who conquers it, it remains the land of the Jewish people. If you don't believe that, then you can't represent us to the world. You can't defend us properly. You can't. You can't impress anybody in the Middle East unless you're speaking in the name of God. Everything else is to them meaningless. Democracy, morality, it's a joke. They're speaking in the name of God, and we are speaking in the name of Geneva. You can't win like this. We, of all people, we have to speak about God. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah. Then they'll listen. But we don't do that. So we're not going to win. Achmon litzlan. Every time they kill a Jew, it proves that their God is right, that their religion is right. And that's a tragedy. We have to teach them and convince them that they're wrong about God. We know God, and we know what God wants. They don't. We have to speak in the name of Moshe. We have to speak in the name of the Torah. We have to speak in the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then there'll be real peace.
So what do you disagree with here?
I don't disagree with anything.
Oh, okay.
In this video.
I
just disagree with him saying, in many places, in other places, he said, "Oh, the world has gotten so much better. People have gotten."
Oh yeah.
I don't know what.
Generally speaking, yes, but then you have this evil that's here.
So the Gateway Pundit published something. So if I look in the private chat, so let's play this for this unfortunate thing for the folks at home.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. No, we saw this. We saw that. I showed you this. I showed the folks at home this heads of the soldiers.
You mentioned, I got the impression that you're showing something from the past. Like it wasn't actually.
Oh, that was the decapitation of a kid. No, these heads are from now. This soldiers from now. We saw this. I don't know what else. I mean, yeah, there you go. This is the kid. People running away from. This is all. It's amazing how this is all on TikTok. These kids running away from the rave. Yeah. They beheaded soldiers, and
I'm saying that Benjamin Netanyahu knew about this and was part of the plan, and all of his assistants were part of the plan, and the Israeli top brass of the military and intelligence, they're all part of this.
1 second. What the hell? Yeah. What about Netanyahu?
I'll try to say it again.
Sorry.
Benjamin Netanyahu and the top people of the Israeli government and the military brass over there and the intelligence officials were part of this, and they planned it. They were part of those who planned this.
Yeah.
On orders from people higher up in their creature hierarchy.
Yeah.
From America, the creatures from America gave the orders for this to happen. Or the creatures from Geneva, creatures from America to tell the creatures in Israel that it's time to do this.
Yeah. Or even if they're not creatures, they're definitely like blackmailed or threatened or I don't know what.
They're creatures. It means it's not a human. It's not within the human. It's not within an Adamic soul to be able to do stuff like this.
Yeah.
This is a sick thing. This is a creature. This is a non-human thing. Something more like an intelligent, evil chimpanzee. Something like that.
Yeah. High-level chimpanzee. Dude, I could either read from what Bartzadik wrote, or I could play the video of what he.
It's up to you.
It's a 15-minute video. I could just read real quick what he wrote, because it's pretty much the same idea. Let's see. There you go. No. 1 second. Cry havoc. Nothing. No, that was a war. He wrote a bunch of stuff. He wrote a thing called. 1 second. There we go. War and the Way. It's called War and the Way. This is like a general kind of like philosophical thing. The war is just beginning. The world is about to explode. Gog and Magog are taking form. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get your wish. When the rebellious declare that they want to throw off the mantle of the divine presence, they are also saying that they no longer desire the cover of divine protection. God responds to the declarations of the rebellious by giving them just what they want. They do not want the divine presence. Fine. then they no longer shall have divine protection. And here we are, war. When God intervened, the enemy was held at bay. When God withdrew divine intervention, then nature took its course, and the enemy attacks like a ravenous wolf. There's only one way to stop a ravenous wolf, but do the defenders have the courage and the resolve to act with definitive resolve, or will they cower and bow before their foreign masters? Throughout history, there's one great rule: those who are the most hungry win the food and eat. The one with less resolve or seeks to limit conflict and not to take it to its bitter end will, in the end, become the prey and be eaten by the more hungry ravenous wolf. And God allows all this to happen, for the weak and the foolish need to learn their lessons. The weak need to learn to become strong, and the fool needs to learn to become wise. There's only one way to deal with the ravenous wolf. The strong and the wise know this and act accordingly. The weak and the fool have not learned this lesson. Until they do, they will always be on the menu. God's protection comes along with God's presence. God's presence brings one both strength and wisdom. And in God's presence, what to do with the ravenous wolf becomes clear. And the strong and wise will act accordingly without fear of any foreign masters, and if necessary, in defiance of them. For God is above all and rules over all. And the presence of God is the one true reality. There is no other that contradicts this. Those who dwell in the shelter of the Almighty will strike out with ruthless resolve and slaughter the ravenous wolf, showing no mercy and no compassion, not for the wolf and neither for the weak and the foolish. In the end, it is the way of God that shall prevail. The weak and the fool will go the way of the wolf. All of them must come meet their respective ends, each in their own way. The wolf will go the way of all ravenous animals. The weak and the fool will finally grow up and mature and start acting like responsible adults, what you mentioned in the beginning. In this way, the wolf will be dealt with, and the wisdom and the way of God will rule supreme, even in spite of foreign masters. The war is just beginning. The world is about to explode. Gog and Magog are taking form. Hear me now. If you are a wolf, prepare to go on the prowl. If you're a lion, prepare to roar. If you're weak, heaven will push you to become strong. If you're foolish, heaven will push you to become wise. If you're a sheep, prepare to be slaughtered. Wolves win battles, lions win wars, sheep are prey to both. Let the weak become strong and the fool become wise and live. This is the way of God. This has been God's plan all along. And as we say, may the name of God be exalted and sanctified, as we say in the beginning of Kaddish.
I don't even get that.
Okay, we can watch the video though, if you want his video, because he gets kind of more poignant.
I just wanted to say, I know a lot of people aren't gonna, whatever. I don't give a shit. So, the reality is that God is really the one who's doing all this.
Ultimately, yeah.
Not ultimately.
Yeah.
Just plainly.
Yeah.
It's 100% God's fault. All the suffering and everything is 100% God's fault. This is part of His world, part of His plan.
But you're saying fault. I mean, again, it's the stove.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so look, we've gotten into this discussion where you can say, "Oh, he's not doing it. He just created the system." He creates and maintains in real time the system which allows this to happen. Which means the cutting edge of the knife, which is cutting the child's head and giving him all that agony, is maintained by God through every moment of that cut. That's God doing this. This is His fault. Okay, and I don't understand where this love comes from. This exaltation. I don't understand these rabbis. I don't understand people who, are you from a place? Are you, for people who love God? Let me tell you something. Let me ask you a question. Are you from some dimension of heaven where you saw how awesome He was and how anything that happens here is just basically, it's essentially in relation to your experience of God in that world? It's so trivial. That's what Jewish philosophy says. Even the most horrifying thing that you see here, right? Yeah. The most painful thing, that no matter how bad you see here, that you're from some kind of dimension where you're like, God, you don't understand how awesome God is. He's so awesome that anything that happens here, it doesn't even matter. It's not even important. That's how awesome He is.
Frank, but
is that where you're from?
But Frank, can I ask you a question then? Then you can say that the rabbis of yesteryear, the rabbis of the Middle Ages, the rabbis who lived all that Tisha B'Av stuff that I was describing, are dafka from another freaking planet, because they still
have to be. They have to. I don't understand them otherwise.
Because and not only that, they wrote in great detail about what they saw, which stuff was included in the kinot, in the stuff that we read on Tisha B'Av, and then they would like read it for themselves to somehow get themselves into a state of being sad about again a building, the temple, which they also never saw. If it's a rabbi in the 1200s or whenever he was, Middle Ages of Europe, he also never saw the temple. So he's trying to cry about that. So he just like writes a thing where he's crying about what he
I had some
witnessed.
insight into what they're actually crying about. Would you like to know?
Okay.
They're crying about the building, not for the loss of.
I know the Shekhinah.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second, man. They're crying for the building not because of the loss that we're experiencing. They're crying for God because he lost his house.
Of course.
They only cry for anything that makes God unhappy.
Yeah. That's
They
the
won't
level they're
cry
on.
for the people.
That's the level they're on. That is the level they're on.
Or they're going to say they cried for the people, but only because pain is something God doesn't like. But it was because of us that he has to go. It's because of us that God has to go through the pain of killing us.
Yeah. That sounds a little bit.
That's what it is. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to say it out in the open.
Listen, a lot of it is also.
Please let me express this. Please. I don't get you. If you say you love God, you're either a liar or you're from some other realm. You're just different. And I'm not saying and I kind of envy you, to be honest with you. I kind of envy you. And I'm not saying that all that isn't true. Whatever God does is good because he defines what good is. Fine. I understand that. Okay. I get it. I get it intellectually. I just don't. It's hard for me to trust people who say that they love God because there's only a couple of kind of people that I've ever encountered. When they say they love God, I was like, all right, so describe God. And then they don't describe God. They describe some kind of God that they designed themselves, some perfect guy, a man with abs,
whoever, yeah.
There's some kind of like holy Fabio, okay?
Yeah.
And that's what they think God is, okay?
Yeah.
And then you got these other people who they just say it because they've been like conditioned to say it. And then there's other people who really love God. I just don't get you. I don't get you.
So Frank, now can I ask you a question based on what you're saying?
I want to ask you a question. I have a point to all this, dude.
Okay.
Dude, I got to say, it's the hardest, it's the most difficult things that I'm trying to express where you like do this. I don't know why. It's hard. This is hard to say this because you're gonna get shit on by everybody. Say this stuff. So the only sense that I can make out of it, right, is that God is not real to most people. Because at least God is real to me. I'm not pretending to love him or like him or understand him or anything that he does. Okay? I like when he's not making me feel pain because I don't like to feel pain. I like when he grants health to my loved ones and to everyone. Okay? And so I'm scared to say anything because I'm scared he's gonna, punish me for saying anything. I don't know. I don't know him. Okay, I don't know him. Okay.
So can I ask you a question?
I'm trying to learn him. Wait a minute, bro. Please.
But I want to ask you a question based on what you're saying.
I don't want to answer questions. I just want to say something.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that sometimes I feel that God is doing this horror, so that people will like be so disgusted that they'll just turn to him and say, seriously? Like how much, like is your bloodlust eternal? Like how much? You see, but in order to do that, you have to feel that God's real, because God's like not some kind of unreal thing to most people. There's a couple of people like me who like know that God's real, but they still don't know what to, like they don't understand like what.
Well, most of those people most of those people stop being religious. They say they get angry at God, let's say for the Holocaust, and they stop doing religion. So there's two things I wanted to ask you. So I'm to understand that the only reason that you're still doing Torah and mitzvahs is because of what you talk about all the time, which is basically the the codes and the fact that no human being could have written the Torah.
Right.
Yes. So that my second comment or kind of assertion really, again, man, like this is going to sound very, very corny and maybe very quaint and corny and typical, but if you're looking at Hashem as it's the Abba, right? It's the Abba. Do you, when your dad did something like, I don't know, you were like a kid and you're stupid little kid and he gave you a potch. This is obviously more than a potch, but I'm just giving you the analogy, right? This is a horrible potch. Did you say, I hate you, Dad? Or I don't understand, did you say, I don't love you, Dad? You didn't say that.
Yeah, I'm familiar with this metaphor that you're doing. I don't see that here.
I'm not doing. I'm just.
No, I know.
Why don't you see that there? I'm asking. I don't know.
I don't see how that could be used here because.
Why?
Because the things that God does to people, and this is why I have trouble seeing him as a father, because a father physically could not do to a child that they love. Do you understand? They cannot cut a child's head off as a potch. Do you understand? Which means that that the child, right, that God is talking about when he's referring to himself as a father is more than you. It's more than the person. Do you understand? It's not really you. Yeah. It's your soul.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So, and your body, your whole experience as a person is something to be done away with if necessary.
So the Gnostic fruitcakes will take everything you're saying now and they just take it to its kind of what they call inevitable endpoint, meaning they say yes, Hashem is the one doing this, and Hashem or God or whatever you call it.
Yeah, but they're saying that there's
the demiurge.
I know.
No, that I know. I'm talking about that aspect of what you're saying. The demiurge is doing this and allowing this. Therefore, let's just get out of our bodies altogether. What the hell are we in this thing?
That's not. First of all, the Gnostic fruitcakes don't make sense.
I know they don't make sense.
The reason why they're wrong is they're idiot. Their argument is idiotic.
I know that. What I'm trying to tell you is there's an aspect, meaning to have the thought that you have, it's like, I don't want to say you're bordering on Gnostic fruitcakery, Hassan Shalom.
Not at all. Not even close.
But it's like,
you see, the Gnostic fruitcakes. Where does the distinction happen between me and the Gnostic fruitcakes? It's here's the truth. Therefore,
yes. So Frank, I have this like crazy thing to tell you, and you probably know this, but I'm gonna say it out loud. The same God that's doing these beheadings, is the same God that gave you parnasa. That's crazy, right? No, that idea is nuts. It's not
nuts.
That's a crazy idea.
It's not really nuts. No.
Why? Why not?
Because
he did that horrible thing, but he also gave you money so you could feed your baby.
Yeah, but who gave you?
He's bipolar.
Who put you in a situation where you need to feed?
I know that, but
this is all about him.
I know, but meaning in our eyes, from just a very, very practical perspective, meaning there's life and then there's death. There's life. He forget about even feeding. He put this kid named Rafi into the world, and he's like, he's in your arms and. He's like, laughing and smiling and all those things, and that's the diametrical opposite of God forbid a little kid, the same kid in Israel getting his head chopped off. It's the diametrical, and it's the same God. Is he bipolar? Does he need medication?
I don't know what. No, I don't claim to know.
Do you know what I'm saying? No, but I know you don't claim. I'm asking a question. Maybe it's rhetorical. I don't know. It's the same question.
There's no answer to that.
It's bipolar. He's bipolar, bro.
No, nothing. Bipolar is something that applies to people.
I know. It's bipolar behavior, is what I'm saying. It's schizophrenic behavior.
See, listen to me. Let me describe God. Okay. That's the best way that I can. Okay. So I know that I know him as a creator. I know him as the one in charge and the one the mastermind and the micromanager of all things. And I know him as the ultimate will of this experience that we're all in right now. Okay, and he communicated to us what he wants us to do, how he wants us to behave, and he told us some stuff about how things are going to develop, and the system in which he placed us in. He did not tell us why. He did not tell us, the specifics about how we're personally going to go through this experience. But everything that goes on here is for him. It's not for us. My son is for him. It's not for me.
Yeah.
Okay. So he wants me to be so grateful. I am. I can't help but be, because I love the little boy so much.
Well,
that's not the reason why he did it.
Yeah, no.
He didn't do it for me. He didn't give me parnasa for me. He wants me to take that parnasa. He needs this whole system for his own purposes. And there's no information as to why. This is so astoundingly
cryptic.
It's absolutely, there's no answer. So, and there's no higher God, and there's one being that did this. And he, at least he made it possible to know the reality of the situation. At least he made it possible to know that he exists for sure. That doesn't have to be a matter of faith.
Yeah.
And that's what I keep talking about. You have to study the text of this document that he produced 3,337 years ago, and he gave it to this fellow Moses.
Dude, all I can tell you is that
there's provable, mathematical, real, scientific way to prove that this document could not have been produced by any finite being. Okay, so that's all we got. I just don't. Yeah. There's all this stuff inside of the Torah that I just literally cannot understand. And it just I'm trying to be honest. I don't understand these people who talk about love. Like, what are you even loving the real God? Like, what do you?
I think the only way to come to have to quote unquote love God. I think the only way. And again, when I say this, you tell me I know all this, but but I really mean this. The only way is to learn what's called hashkafa. When you learn hashkafa, when you learn the philosophical works of,
I've learned.
I know you have. So I'm saying I think like to do it like intravenously is the only way to get to that point. I'll just tell you honestly, man. How should I put this? I'm going to say this kind of like in plain language. If I felt the way that you feel, meaning I understand why you feel that way, why you see things that way, and I kind of see them in a similar way. But if I was in that in the same, if I felt about it, if I felt what you're saying now in the same veracity that you feel it, I probably would stop being like. I'm surprised you're still religious, or whatever that you keep. I would stop
that for a minute.
I know. I'm just saying. I personally, if I felt what you felt, if I said what you said, I'd stop doing anything.
Can you hold on one second? I apologize. Give me a second.
Because I'd say there's no God. I'd say there's no God, man.
Okay, can we talk about that? That's because you keep going back to that. So that's a denial of reality. You understand? Like, how long can a person go denying what they know is true? Like, how long? How long can you go? How long, if you're married, let's say, to somebody that makes you sick, right? Some lady, imagine some lady. I saw this on a House episode one time.
Yeah.
She was a psychopath, and she married some guy because he is rich and whatever, but he was convinced that she loved him because she acts so well. Yeah. Even she, at some point, could not contain her disgust for this guy. How long can a person go denying what they feel strongly and they know to be true? You can't. Okay. You can't. You can't go on forever like that because that's how deeply I know that the Torah is real and God is real.
So okay?
My motivation is the following. I try to to love God by thinking about what I like most about the experience here, and by remembering or reminding myself that He's the origin, that he's the one who created everything that I do like, and so I try to focus on that. Okay, but underneath that, so that doesn't work well very often. It helps me sometimes, but I really hope that I know that He's going to get His way. I know that God is going to get His way. He's in charge, and He's going to get His way. Okay, His plan is, as they say, God wins. Of course, He wins. God is going to, He's God. He's going to get what He wants. Okay, so I'm hoping that by cooperating with Him, it speeds up the process, and I'm hoping that I don't get, that it minimizes the amount of bad stuff that He's going to do to me. That's my honest answer. All those things. I'm sorry if that doesn't impress you, or all these.
No, I'm not asking you to impress me. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have not heard a single thing from from anybody, right, which can even dent that that perspective. I'm not trying to hold on to it. That's just what formed by my experience here. But you know what? On some level, I hope that that God at least appreciates that it's real. I know He's real, and I react to Him as if it's Him doing it. Everybody else seems like is reacting to it like, oh, I hope God saves us. Who saves us from God?
Yeah.
Like there's something that you do something.
As they say in Old Milvado, the same people that say that. In Old Milvado, really?
It's like they don't take it. It's like they know it, but they don't take it like it's not real.
Yeah.
At least it's real to me.
Yeah. Again, they're living in that meme with the house on the lawn.
So how confident do I feel? That He's not gonna,
I think also
for speaking out, I have none.
Dude, by the way, but I think all those people that are and those rabbis, now we understand maybe those rabbis were because they were living in such a reality, they weren't living with these creature comfort things, at least not to the level that we're living with. And they saw reality for what it was. They saw that the Torah was real, the Hashem was real, everything was real. So they tapped into the real, and they were able to tap into the real. They weren't coming from a different planet. They were coming from reality, and they saw everything in its totality and its horribleness and its great great things and horrible things, and that's it. And so because again, like, dude, everything's relative. Like, we live in these creature comforts, right? And we live in relative kind of. By the way, that's why a lot of people are not teaching themselves how to defend themselves, because we live in these creature comfort and the safety and the perception, illusion of safety. And people, this is now very real to people. And it seems, to me, it seems even worse than Tisha B'Av, because it's so far-fetched from, what Rabbi Manis Friedman's describing, which is like this, generally nice world, which it is generally nice, except these fucking, pardon my language, Planet of the Apes guys, sub chimps. So
sorry, there's nothing nice about this world. At all,
dude, seriously. Like,
seriously, seriously, just the
like
fact
going outside and seeing trees in the ocean and this and that.
Yeah, all that is spoiled by beheaded children. Yeah, that's right. Fuck all of it.
Wonderful. So Baal Shem Tov saying that there's 50% of good and 50% in any given moment.
I don't know what he meant.
You throw it in the garbage.
I don't know what he meant.
What do you mean you don't know what he meant?
I'm not. Look, what I'm saying is, I don't understand these men. I greatly admire them, and I envy them to a certain extent. Baal Shem Tov and these men who understood, they saw,
these people didn't have picnics, man.
I'm
that.
not telling you they had picnics, but what I'm saying is somehow they said that aside from all the horror, the horror that you're seeing, God's like amazing. He's awesome. Like, you don't understand that everything that happens
I'm not saying
here,
God's amazing. I'm saying things on earth there are good things here.
I'm just telling you what they said. Here's what they say. You guys don't understand. God is so awesome that whatever even seems like happening, any bad stuff that's happening, he's so awesome that like if you actually experienced him,
Okay.
it wouldn't even matter to you, basically. It basically wouldn't even matter to you because that's how awesome he is. And I believe them. Do you understand that? I believe them. I believe these men. They transmitted the Torah. They know
Dude,
the Torah.
if what you're saying
them.
is true, then all the people now who are volunteering, for all this amazing things that are happening now in Israel is unfortunately as a result of this freaking war and all the, I'm not even talking about the unity, but just the volunteering and all people doing that should just not do that because there's no freaking point. There is no point.
I don't know what's happening
because it's not good. Meaning it's canceled out by the guy being beheaded and kids in cages. What's the point to do all that shit? What's the point of my friend teaching these little kids?
I don't know because
in his yeshuv, what is it called, capoeira, because their fathers are not
because
there.
if God's letting them get away, if He's letting the creatures guide the whole world like this, then obviously then it's part of something that He wants done. So I'm supposed to be all enthusiastic about it, but I'm not. Look, I don't think that it's possible. I don't know how much He cares. I don't think that I could have a positive view of a truly emotionally just happy and free in my heart love of God until He brings Mashiach and ends this.
Sure.
It's conditional. Yeah, it's conditional. I'm sorry, I can't. Yeah, it's conditional on I can't love God while children are being beheaded. I can't. Maybe when He stops it forever, and in the few, but I know. I'm not going to live up to the unconditional to love God unconditionally. I can't live up to it. Mashiach has to come and end this. I would love to love God. I would love to. I really would. I'm telling you. I would love to see Him as a parent, but I can't. I don't know how any parent could do what He does to his children. Okay. Now the only way out of this torture, as I'm told, is by those men that I respect, that I envy, who love God, right? Who truly love God. I believe them. I don't believe everybody's a fraud. I believe that there are people out there who, even knowing the true nature, they don't only pick out the stuff that they like about God, right? And worship that, but who know everything, right? Who see everything, and they still love Him. I believe them. There are people who I trust. I just don't get them. I don't understand.
Dude, I have a friend.
So they said the only way out of my torture is to get in touch with my soul, because my soul is one of those creatures that loves God no matter what He does. So if you get in touch with your soul and you hang out with your soul a lot, you got to feel your soul. Then you can be, you can get some freedom from the animosity, from the suffering and the pain. Okay.
So how do you do that?
I don't know.
Dude,
You study Torah a lot.
Well, so what would you say to my friend who is, Shomer Shabbat guy and everything, all the rest of it? But the only time I ever hear him say that he loves Hashem is when something's going right. And when something's going wrong, he's just like, either he says nothing, or he says, Hashem, why are you doing this? What I do deserve this? And then you got like Breslov guys, or Breslov, like Rabbi Nachman, and the people, his students, and people today, even when things go wrong, say thank you Hashem for this thing that went wrong, whatever that is, right? Literally for us to walk around and say thank you Hashem for that. Then there's that ideology.
So some of the guys saying that believe that, and I envy them. Some of the guys saying that are fake it till you make it.
Yeah, I say that. I don't fake it. I just say it as like.
This is a technique. Fake it till you make it. That's literally how we're instructed.
I've done it not the same, but not because I'm faking it till I'm making it. I'm literally doing it because, again, for me, it's just like ein od milvado, and honestly, man, like there's some things that happen in my life where I can honestly say, again, it goes back to the hot stove. Hashem put in place certain mechanisms. There were certain things that I did whenever, and certain things happen, that are a result of my behavior. Again, because what I'm saying, what I'm trying to tell you, man, yes, you're right about there are certain things there are things that God are it's everything really God, that are where it's God completely. There's nothing you can do. There are other things where it's like, well, because you're basically absolving humans of humans have responsibility here. Like I have responsibility to not do some avera that I'm not supposed to do, and if I do it, there's a mechanism in place to like, maybe me not have parnasa, or maybe me not have this or not that. It's just what it is. It's just, and I've accepted it. I've accepted that. I've accepted that system. I've accepted that the fact that that's a real thing, and I'm doing my meaning. And by the way, me not doing that thing actually, even if that wasn't the consequence of that, would be better for me anyway. Even if it was no consequence of that, even if there was no, so to speak, it's not a punishment. It's even if there was no hot stove, it would still be better for me not to do that. For a wide variety of reasons, you know what I mean? So, we can't take, like you said, these what is it called? These creatures. If we go all the way in our minds and say, it's all God's fault, then how the hell we ever take these creatures to account? Because it's all God's fault. The creatures have nothing to do with it. These creatures.
Listen to me.
We're not going to kill them then.
Do you want the answer to the question or not?
Yeah, I do. I was just
okay.
Trying to paint you a picture.
So the context is what I'm talking about. Within the context of this world that God created, you're right. Everybody has to take account, and it's our fault and stuff like that. Okay, but my problem is that He created the context, maintains it, and knows the outcome of what's going to happen to His children.
For sure.
I don't know how a parent could even create such a context. No parent can create such a context. Unless
you consider, and we're in Bereshis now, we're in the Parsha Bereshis, unless you consider that one event, Adam and Hava, where none of this crap that we're witnessing in front of our face was ever supposed to happen, and everything was supposed to be perfect, so to speak, from the get-go.
That's the system you're describing.
I know that. I'm just telling you. And then after that, we had Cain and Hevel, and now we're seeing we're seeing is just Cain and Hevel playing out over and over and over again, nonstop. It's just like it's a loop. It's like they call it kafakella.
So what it feels like. So what it feels like is that these bodies that we're in, right? That's like imagine you give your kid. It's time for your kid to start driving, and if you're able to, you buy him a car.
Yeah.
You get him a cheap starter car. He's probably going to have a couple of fender benders. He's going to bash the fender, maybe smash a couple of headlights, whatever, when he's backing out in a parking lot or something like that. So that's what these bodies feel like. Like this whole, like your entire experience.
Yeah, it's an advanced heads-up display that deteriorates by the day.
So sorry, that doesn't feel like love. It feels like it feels like you're an accessory to something that he loves.
Yeah, listen, dude, I'll buttress what you're saying. The other day, I was like, I don't know, it was like Yontiv. I was just like trying to get out of bed, to go pray, and I'm thinking to myself, I look younger than my age. I feel sometimes, mentality-wise, younger than my age. But I'm 42 years old. And I was just thinking, it was funny, like my body, I wish like my body did the same thing, like didn't feel, there's certain things that are in pain that wouldn't be in pain. And one can say, well, I should just work on, there's things I can work on to mitigate it. But I'm thinking to myself, why should it even get to the point where I have to all of a sudden work on it? It's not like it's not like I started eating garbage in the last 10 or 20 years. My diet is probably better than it was before. But yet things are like, I literally inside kind of like, we all live with like certain nagging pains or nagging things that we just kind of like, we live with it. We don't go walk on complaining about it. It's just stuff that over time. By the time you get a certain age, it starts creaking and moving in a slower way. And I'm like, why? Like, why? What the hell? Like, why? Like, what the hell did I do wrong? I didn't do anything wrong. No, and then people are like, well, you just have to, it's upkeep. You got to work out. You see these guys, they're in their 40s, and now they look better in their 40s, and they're in their 30s. Yeah, because they freaking work out like, you have to take half your life just to go to work out and do sit-ups and this and this and this and run around like a chicken with a head cut off and do cardio now and this and that and the other. And I'm just like, again, I'm not, it'd be one thing if I was morbidly obese, and eating shit, but I don't, and I'm not. But yet, everything fucking hurts in the morning. Not everything, but a lot of things. Why? Thanks, Hashem. Thanks. Great.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I don't know why God needs all this. I don't know.
It's like this whole we start, what do they say, that we start dying when we're born. Like, great, wonderful. Like, physically, we start deteriorating the minute that we're born. Like, we come out of the womb, we're like, okay, and down. Great, awesome. And they're like, come on, Tzvi, be optimistic. Of course, if you don't work out, that's what's going to happen. If I work out, it's going to happen.
Right.
Why do you think these juice heads inject things in their body? Dude,
so can we talk about those people who say stuff to you just for a second?
Yeah.
It almost feels like on a certain level, they're like, listen, they sound a lot like atheists.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say that. They sound a lot like atheists because atheists, they're not really, I don't know if there's any such thing as a real atheist, but let's say there is. They're not angry at God. They're like, hey, that's just nature. That's the world that we find ourselves in. What are you mad at? You understand? There's certain facts of life. That's what just deal with it. What are you wasting your time getting mad? Why are they not mad? Because they don't think there's anybody to be mad at. There's nobody to react to.
Yeah.
Not really. Not to them.
Yeah. You only have yourself to blame.
That's what it feels like.
If you can't get out of bed in the morning, or it takes you an hour.
Right. So that's why it feels like when I hear stuff like that from certain people, it feels like there's no reality within them towards the existence of God. Like, isn't it better? Okay, imagine a situation. Imagine for the folks at home or anybody, right? Let's say you're a parent, right? Let's say your kid's ghosting you.
Yeah. They're
not even reacting to you. They're giving you the silent treatment.
Yeah.
Right? And then even if you shove them, right? They're like, oh, is there some kind of invisible force here? What was that? Oh, there's like a strong wind that pushed my shoulder. You know what I mean? Like, they're doing stuff like that rather than acknowledging. Like, you want them to acknowledge you, right? Because you're so sick of the silent treatment that they're not even treating you like you're real, right? Sometimes I feel like you, but I mean God, would rather we lash out at you for hitting us, for hurting us, but at least we're acknowledging you. So that's what I'm thinking. Because I'm trying, and this is me trying to give God a break. I'm trying to, because all the other stuff doesn't work, right? Like,
yeah.
Like what he's doing this to get us to to treat him like he's real. So like maybe by he does something so horrid that we have to lash out. We have to finally look at him and say, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And then maybe he'll stop. I don't know.
When you're saying he's doing this, it's not just waking us up because we had disunity. It's also causing the disunity to begin with.
Yeah.
Like implanting in the microchips in these leftists the stupid thoughts in their heads, to go push around people while they're praying in the middle of Tel Aviv.
Ultimately, everything that's ever happened somehow serves God, and it was all part of his plan. So that's the most astounding, most intolerable part of this whole situation.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I don't know, man. Look, I'm just kind of throwing my hands here. I know he's real. I know he's doing this on every level, and don't talk to me about the system. Do me a favor. We're talking about somebody who controls the system, who's not controlled by the system.
Yeah.
God's making the system function. He's not subject to it. So stop talking to me within the context of the system, which he fully controls.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
an example to buttress what you're saying, Frank. Again, I hate to go into my own.
Please do.
I'm going to say it's short.
Take as long as you need.
Doing everything possible to get, again, this is not to do with like, I don't want to go into like dating and shadchanim. I just want to go into like, this is the first mitzvah in the Torah, right? So I'm a man. I want to get married. I want to have kids. So I leave the land that I love 10 years ago to marry somebody. I do everything possible to like do things the right way. Through literally, and you could say I made this mistake, I said this, I said that, but ultimately when you slice it down, literally through no fault of my own, the engagement breaks off. Obviously Hashem wanted it this way. I end up in America. I end up dating here and there, everywhere. Lots of what's called busha, kind of humiliation, embarrassment. So now it's 10 years later, and I'm just watching friend after friend after friend after friend after friend get married. Some people got married, some people got divorced, have kids. Some people who got married stayed married with kids. Some people are happily married with kids. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what, and you could say like, I'm doing something wrong, or I'm not enough in this area of my life. I'm not making enough, whatever. Some people say I'm not making enough money. I'm not doing enough of this. I just need to say this. I just need to go like this. I just need to go hang from the chandelier in this particular moment.
Okay,
but let me
talk within the context of the system.
Let me finish.
I'll tell you one thing that I think you're doing wrong.
Let me finish.
Your dating pool.
I know that. I know.
Small.
I've widened it. I've widened it already. I've widened it already. I've done it.
Widen it to young ladies.
Listen, I've done that as well. Listen. I'm at the point where people are telling me that you should hang from the chandelier now, but not 5 seconds ago, and not in 5 seconds, but only now. But if you hang from the chandelier upside down in 5 seconds, you're gonna screw it all up.
Yeah.
This is what it's been like for the last 10 motherfucking years. Pardon my language, everybody. Okay? But it's the MS. So now I'm like, Hashem, what's up? No answer. I keep trying. I go on. I go here. I go there. I go to events. I go to apps. I go to here. I talk to this person. I talk to that person. I do nothing. I stop. I get demoralized. I start again. I erase. I delete. I uninstall. I reinstall. I go here again, and I talk to the same person who insulted me before, and I ask for their help or whatever. I accept their help again, and I accept people's help out of curiosity just to see what they're offering. This, that. Meanwhile, I'm watching guys, whatever, I don't know, get married. And people are like, it's not your time. This Christian answer. It's not your time, my son. Your time will come. It's not your time.
That's what Christians sound like to Greg, folks.
That's what no. It's just like no. It's like Jews sounding like Christian. It's not your time, my son. And I hear in the background, the opening of the Mel Brooks.
No, but the
I hear like, and then I just like Inquisition.
Aside from the way they're saying it, that is, what's funny. That is in fact true.
That is true, correct. But it doesn't make
correct though. It is in
fact. Dude, you know who I feel like? I feel like. Can I play for the folks at home what I feel like then? After they say that, I feel like Jackie Mason in that scene where he just goes, and they started playing ping pong with my balls.
We're not doing history of the world this time. We can't.
I know. Can I play Bart Sadek for everybody? What he has to say? Is that okay? Now that we're
all right, let me summarize it before
now that we've waited for this wonderful
cities. Yeah, get out of the cities. Learn how to grow food.
Yeah.
Take measures for self-defense, but don't think that there was a conspiracy that the government did this on its own people. Don't think that's the whole thing. But let's watch it and see. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Shalom, everybody. Rabbi Ariel Bar Tzadok here from the Kosher Torah School, found online koshertorah.com. To begin with, we don't need to repeat the past. We all know what's been going on in the past few days in Israel. We've been watching the news. We've seen what's happened. And, I don't need to review anything with you. I will just say one thing. I told you so. I warned you that these things were coming. I said to you in my recent videos to understand the nature of the relationship of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and what we call Hoshana Rabbah. That when it comes to the edicts and judgment of God, you have Rosh Hashanah where it's signed, Yom Kippur where it's sealed, and on Hoshana Rabbah it's delivered. And literally, at the end of that day of Hoshana Rabbah, war began. Now understand and know this is only the beginning of things. Things are going to escalate globally. This is all a plan, as we say, Me'et Hashem Hayatazot. This is God's plan. This is the way it's going to be. And for those of you who think that this is going to be isolated to Israel, you are deadly wrong. And I say deadly wrong because this is going to spill out everywhere. It's going to spill out into the streets of all the major cities around the world. It's going to spill out into the streets of the United States, Europe, even Australia, Canada. No one's going to be safe anywhere. You're going to have chaos. You're going to have violence. You're going to have upheavals. Israel is going to have conflict with Iran. One way or another, it's going to happen. Iran, as we know, is in the hands of Russia right now. Israel's in the hands of the United States. We see where all the chess pieces are coming down on the board. The great war of Gog and Magog that was prophesied, it's materializing right now. Things are happening. And like I said, this is all part of God's plans. You're not going to change it. You're not going to run away from it. And in case you think that you're going to be able to hide behind a facade of religion, and that by reciting psalms, you're magically going to be protected. Okay? If that's the way you believe, let's find out if you're right or not. Because about 100 years or so ago, many did exactly that. And they all ended up either dead or in Auschwitz and died there most likely. You must remember the most practical and profound teachings that our sages have taught through the centuries and that have been echoed by wise and intelligent men throughout history. Benjamin Franklin said it best: God helps those who help themselves. And our sages said, Ein somchim ala nes. We do not rely upon miracles. It is now time for you to recognize what we've been talking about, me and many others, getting ready for what's happening. Start thinking like the Jews in Europe needed to think a century ago. You must be prepared. You must become mobile. You must recognize what you need to do to stay safe. The streets of the major cities are going to turn into shooting galleries, whether it's going to be actually with guns or anything else. Jews are going to be targeted for violence everywhere. This is going to happen. Don't think because you're secular or because you're not identified, you'll be identified. And many people will be identified as Jews who even aren't Jews. Because if you stand up for what is righteous, if you stand up for the Bible, if you stand up for God, if you stand up for Israel, and I'm talking about our Christian brothers and sisters, and believe it or not, even some of the good members and righteous people in other communities, even in the Islamic community and in the other religions, these people, they're our brothers and sisters. They're not bad and evil. But every community has its bad and evil people within it, including our own Jewish community. Don't deny that. And this is God's plan to weed out the wicked and to give them their due. You must be prepared. You must be practical. For those of you who live in your urban cities, I've been telling you a long time, get the blank out as fast as you can. And if you cannot or will not do that, be prepared to what you're going to face. It's going to start with more and more attacks on individual Jews in the cities. And most Jews today are passive. They're weak. They are open targets, and they're going to be targeted. And until they learn their lessons not to be like this, they will remain targets. And you can say, well, God will protect and God will provide. Yeah, I know all the things that are written in all the books. And let me tell you this, God's going to protect you and God's going to provide for you when you provide for God the tools through which to act. I cannot tell you how important it is. Hear me now. You as an individual need to learn whatever form and means of self-defense that you are personally capable of doing. You should maybe, and forget about kung fu and karate schools. You don't have the time. There must be specific courses, maybe a one-time seminar to teach how to get away from an attack on an opponent. Maybe there are videos like this. Maybe there are millions of videos maybe like this on YouTube and the like. Get a group together, watch some of these videos and practice with one another. If you need some form of self-defense, I will never, ever, ever go public and say, do something illegal, God forbid. But do what you need to do to stay safe and alive. There are many ways and means for self-defense that are available and viable, even in places like New York, where they have the most stringent laws against these things. It hasn't stopped and it will not stop the criminal element. The criminal element who hate Jews and hate the righteous, they're going to come after you with whatever they have. If they can't get their hands on a gun, they'll attack you with a hammer. They'll ram you with a car. You need situational awareness to know this. You're living in a meat grinder, and you know what happens there. You've heard it from me before. I'm telling it to you again. Get out of the urban areas while you still have time. I said to you, and I repeat it to you now, I don't foresee nuclear war this year. But as I prayed over the holiday, I asked and I said, God, what's coming down the pike? And I got a little, almost like, I don't know how to describe it. The impression was, and when I was asking back at the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, that the framework of my request was rather narrow. I asked if there would only be a nuclear war this year. And the answer was, God is merciful. But within the context of God's mercy, there are greater things still that are going to happen. Hear me now. If you cannot get your food supplies, backup stuff, protection stuff, what are you going to do if, God forbid, in the wintertime, there's an attack on an electrical grid? Do you have blankets in your house to stay warm? Do you have a backup food supply to prepare for your family for weeks? Can you defend yourself against home invaders or people want to attack you on the streets? You better think about these things now, because you don't have any more time, period. You want to say God's grace, God, okay, God's going to prepare and provide for all, just like he did for all those who suffer and die, because God demands of us to be practical, realistic, down to earth and grounded, and to do what we need to do. And God does not take our responsibility when we do not pick it up ourselves. God holds us accountable. An old saying I say, you do what you can. God will do what you can't. It doesn't work the other way around, where you do what you want to do and God will do what you don't want to do. That doesn't happen. I'm giving you a message now. I confess it might make you afraid. It might set you in a panic. I get it. I understand that, and I'll take that responsibility, because I'd much rather you be afraid and even in panic, that it will motivate you to do things that you need to do, because bottom line, that's all that matters now. And for all of those of you, my brothers and sisters out there, I don't care what our religions are, what our faith, color, anything, none of that matters now. Doesn't matter what we believe. Doesn't matter how we feel. For those who are together, believing in God, faithful to more righteous cause, we got to learn to stand together. The haters, they're out there. Look on some of these prepper websites. Read the comments of how people are commenting, blaming the Jews. There are already conspiracy theories out there claiming that what happened in Israel today was an inside job perpetrated by the Israeli government against its own people. We have all these kinds of conspiracy theories. Bottom line is they always point the finger and blame the Jews. Hear me, they're going to be coming. And I don't mean in any organized way. I do not anticipate the landing of Russian or Iranian troops on the streets of the United States. Whether or not that'll happen, only God knows. But the hatred is running amok, and it cannot be put back in the bottle. I believe it was just yesterday, I had a pro-Palestinian demonstration in New York City. Okay, whatever. But they were having Nazi flags there as well. It was, I think it was in the New York Post. They showed somebody this little Nazi symbol there. Now, if you look at the way and the nature of how the Hamas troops perpetrated their attack, this was not a specific military style effort. These were people who just went wild and crazy and killed randomly. That's hatred. And that, the greatest fear, is that will be coming around the world. Hatred. And if the people with hatred can't kill you with a gun, like I said, they'll go to Home Depot and kill you with a screwdriver, a hammer, ram you with a car. These things have already happened around the world, and they're going to get worse. And you need to be prepared. You need the self-awareness as you walk down the street every single day. You need to do what you need to do. Look on YouTube, learn ways and means of self-defense. You need to become an aggressor as opposed to a victim. Here it is. This is not my everyday or rabbinic talk that I love to give to people. But bottom line, right now, this is about saving lives. Get yourselves ready. Get yourselves mobile. Learn what it means to be a prepper. Go watch some of these prepper channels. They got really good ones out there. Learn what it means to take care of yourself, become self-sufficient, and do what you need to do. Recognize the times and be wise. Don't be a fool. Be strong. Don't be weak. God is already with you. But you got to start being with God the right way. Stop relying on some religious fantasies that somehow magically it's all going to go away. It's not. And for those of you who are secular Jews, you're going to be the number one target. Better deal with it now. I wish I could tell you, oh, if you become religious, everything will be better. I wish I could say that, honestly, but I can't. Didn't help the Jews in the Holocaust. It's not going to help now. Get ready. Be prepared. I don't want to say these words that just came to my head. I don't. But I feel like, a little thing in me tells me, get ready to fight. Okay. God's blessings to us all. I hope and pray that, what can I say? Better times to come. But let's get through these hard times, and they are going to be hard. All right, this is not going away, guys. Hear me on this for your own sakes. May God bless us all. And I'll conclude in the words in the essay I just sent out to my kosher Torah school students. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Those of you Jewish, those are the words of the famous Kaddish prayer. May God's name be exalted and sanctified, because that's what this is all about. It's the hands of heaven guiding everything here on earth to raise up and purify our souls. So this is going to be the time of our testing. We got to learn to do what we need to do. May God bless us all. Thank you for listening. Please support our channel, click like on the button, all that YouTube stuff.
Obviously, I disagree with one thing, which is the part that he says that, the Israeli government didn't do this to its own people.
It just sounds like he thinks that when people say the Israeli government,
Talking about Jews, yeah.
equating that with all Jews, like
Yeah.
as if
No.
we're all in on it. Even
Yeah. Yeah.
what about the people who got butchered? No, everybody but them, right?
It's like yesterday I said, like, when I vote, it's like now I'm at this point I don't even know who the hell I'm voting for. I'm voting for like people who are not like me. I'm voting for people who hate me.
I gotta.
Hey, I'm voting for you.
Judging by what's happening, that's not on camera. I have a hard
Yeah.
stop right
All
now.
right, sir. It's all good, sir. This was productive nonetheless. Hope people got a lot out of this. We were actually quite watched on Rumble. Cloud Hub, for some reason, is like, I don't know what the hell's going on over there.
I think it's just a bad video. Probably.
I don't know. It was a good video for the most part of it, and I had high hopes for Cloud Hub, but I don't know what the hell. I don't know what the hell's going on over here. But Rumble, Baruch Hashem, today was good. There's days here, there's days there. We gotta figure out the puzzle.
No one could ever say we did this for money and fame.
Oh yeah, buddy.
All right.
Yeah. All right, sir. Goodbye, everyone. We speak to you soon. Keep hope alive. Peace.